Okay, hey y'all. Today's objective is standard form. We've been talking a lot about slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. But now, in standard form, we're going to show you two things today. We're going to show you how to write an equation in standard form. So standard form looks like this. ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are numbers. X and y are going to be your variables. A must be a positive value. When a number is written in standard form, you will never start off with a negative a value. And you cannot have any fractions when your equation is in standard form. So a lot of people do not like fractions. Therefore, standard form is a little easier on the eyes because you do not have to deal with fractions. The negative to standard form is you cannot just automatically look at the slope. There is a way to find the slope, but you can't just look at it and say, okay, this is the slope, like in y equals mx plus b.
Alright, so graph a line using the x and y intercepts. So that's the second objective we're going to do. We're going to talk about how to graph in standard form. You have to use what's called the x and y intercepts. And to find the x and y intercepts, for y intercept, you're going to set x equal to 0 and find the value of y. And to find the x-intercept, you set the y equal to 0, and you're going to find the value of x.
And what this is going to look like is if you have a coordinate plane and you have the x and y intercept. Let's just pretend your y-intercept is 0, 5, and your x-intercept is negative 2, 0. You're always going to have 0 in the x value and 0 in the y value. Then when you graph those, you would go up 0, 5, and then you would say negative 2, 0, and that's how you would graph. So that's just an example.
So your x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis, and your y-intercept is really where the line crosses the y-axis.
So the first examples we're going to show you is how to write a number in standard form. ax plus by equals c. So I wrote it here. And the first one is kind of a little bit done for you. We started out with an equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 2x plus 1. We want to change it into standard form. So that means we need to have the ax value first. So we add 2x to both sides, and we rewrite it. 2x plus y equals 1.
Alright, so then you need to check, is your first value, or is your ax, is it positive? There's no fractions, and you have your x and y on the same side. That's my hint to know that it's in standard form, is that x and y are now on the same side instead of it just being y equal. So this one is great.
Yes. And in this one, your a value is 2, your c value is 1, and your b value is the number in front of the y, and we should know that that would be a 1. So your b value is 1 and your c value is 1. Number 2, we're showing you this one because we're going to show you how to get rid of this fraction. Standard form can't have any fractions, so my suggestion would be to get rid of that fraction first. In order to get rid of that fraction, we need to multiply the entire equation by the denominator, 4, the least common denominator. So maybe you remember doing this when we did our equation unit. If we multiply the whole thing by 4, we have to distribute it to everything inside. So we distribute it to the y, and that becomes 4y. When we distribute it to the negative 3/4 x, the reason we multiply by the least common denominator is because these 4's are going to, in a sense, cancel each other out. They're going to, 4 and this 4 on the bottom, this is 4 divided by 4, which is 1. So those are going to cancel out, and we're left with negative 3x. And then 4 times 2 is going to be plus 8. Whenever you multiply by the denominator, it's always going to cancel out like that. Now we need to bring this negative 3x over because we want our ax value to come first by adding 3x to both sides.
So then we end up with 3x, because we can't combine 4y and 3x, they're not like terms. So you have a positive 3x plus a positive 4y equals 8.
And we check, is our a value positive? Yes. And we don't have any fractions, and x and y are on the same side, so we have converted this to standard form. Example number 3, we don't have any fractions, but we have an a value that is negative. This is a negative 1x, the coefficient is a negative 1. We cannot have any negatives on the a value, so there's a couple of different ways you can do this. One of the ways is you can multiply everything by -1, because a -1 times a -1 is going to give you a +1. The other way is you could divide everything by a -1. So I'm just going to show you. If you divide everything by a -1, that is going to change all the signs to the opposite. So what I mean by that is this is a -1. So -1 divided by -1 is going to be a +x. 2 divided by -1 is going to be a -2y. 5 divided by -1 is going to be a -5. So in the future, when you have a negative a value, when you divide by -1 or multiply by -1, you are going to switch all the signs to their opposite. Meaning if they were positive, like 2y and 5, they're going to now become negative. And this one is done.
All right, the fourth example is a you try. So you have y equals 2/3 x minus 3. You need to pause the video now and try this on your own. And if you've tried it, this is what you should get. You would first multiply by the least common denominator because we have a fraction. So the least common denominator is 3. And you distribute that 3 to everything. So you end up with 3y equals 2x minus 9. Then you would have to subtract 2x to put it on the same side with y. So you end up with negative 2x plus 3y equals -9. But we can't have a negative for our a value. So then Ms. Hantler did division the first time. I'll show you multiplication. Essentially, you get the same thing. If you multiply everything by -1, -1 times -2 is going to change that to a positive 2x. I'm coming over here. And then -1 times positive 3 is going to be a -3y. And -1 times -9 is going to change to positive. So this is your final answer. You don't have any more fractions, and this is positive.
So we hope you got that one right. If you did not, then make sure you come to class tomorrow with questions. The second objective today is to graph lines that are written in standard form. We've shown you how to convert numbers into, or convert equations into slope-intercept, y equals mx plus b, and graph using the y-intercept and the slope. Well, now you can graph if the numbers are written in standard form by using the intercepts, and Ms. Barnes talked a little bit about that. So equation number 1, 2x plus 3y equals 6. It's in standard form. When you want to find the intercepts, I put a note. You let x equal 0, and when you substitute in 0 for x, this number goes away, because 2 times 0 is 0. When you're left with 3y equals 6, then you solve and divide each side by 3, and y equals 2. That means that point, that y-intercept is 0, 2, or y equals 2. So you're going to put a dot at y equals 2. After you let x equal 0, let y equal 0. When you substitute a 0 in for y, 3 times 0 is 0, and so this is going to drop out. 2x equals 6. Divide those sides by 2, and x equals 3. That means your x-intercept is 3, so the value, the point value is going to be 3, 0, and you can put a point F. Now you have 2 points. The only thing you need to graph a line is 2 points, and you're going to connect those 2 points with a line. Put arrows on your line to signify it's a line, and now we have graphed that line without y equals mx plus b. This is a negative slope, but it goes through our intercepts. Right. So example number 2, x minus y equals -3. Again, you're going to let x be 0. So when I substitute a 0 in, that goes away, and I'm left with -y equals -3. You can divide both sides by -1, and y equals 3, which means that's your y-intercept, 0, 3. When you let y equals 0, you substitute a 0 in, and that value goes away, And you have x equals negative 3, so we don't have to solve. We see that x is equal to negative 3, which is negative 3, 0.
When you do this on the same graph, so your y-intercept is 3, so Ms. Hempler's going to go on the y-axis to positive 3 and put a dot. And then my x-intercept is negative 3, so that means I go on the x-axis and put a dot on negative 3, and then you connect those 2 points.
And if you've noticed, these two values right here, the 2 and the 3, are your y-intercepts, so those would be your b value in slope-intercept form.
So we have some more graphing. This one is 5x minus 2y equals negative 10. You want to find the x and y-intercept. So first we're going to find y-intercept by plugging in 0 for x. And Ms. Hempler's already started this for us. So it's 5 times 0 minus 2y equals negative 10. 5 times 0 is 0, so you wouldn't write it down. You bring down the negative 2y equals 10. So you're going to divide by negative 2. And y equals positive 5. So my y-intercept is positive 5. So on my graph, I'm going to go on the y-axis to positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll put a dot. It's my first dot. Then I'm going to plug in y equals 0. Now I'm finding my x-intercept. 5x minus 2 times 0 equals negative 10. That cancels out because it's 0. So I'm doing 5x equals negative 10. I'm going to divide by 5. So x equals negative 2. This is my x-intercept, so I'm going to go on my x-axis, and I come to negative 2. And then I connect I tried to connect the line. Straight line. You can't draw like me, you need to use a ruler. And that's that line.
So example 4, 3x plus 7y equals 21. Again, you can see you set x equal to 0, 7y equals 21, so y equals 3. I'm going to go and put a dot at y equals 3. That's my y-intercept. When I let y equals 0, I solve it, and I get 3x equals 21, so x equals 7. That means I have to come over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I connect, we connect our points to form our lines.
Now your line should actually go through the point again. Use a ruler.
So when you see this, the blue line and the red line, the blue line has a positive slope, and it's actually steeper than the red line, which has a negative slope, and it's a bit flatter. And we talked a little bit about the steepness. So the last one is a U-try. I want you to graph using the x and y intercept. Here's your equation. X minus 3y equals 3. You are going to substitute in x equals 0 and y equals 0, just like we've shown you. If you are confused, go back and watch the 4 examples that Ms. Barnes and I just showed you. And you're going to graph the line, and we are going to go over this in class.